Okay, well, hello everyone. My name is Coco, and here we are behind the goat, which is a chance to get to know a couple of our team members and really have a peek behind what goes on here at Goat Gaming and Mighty Bear Game Studio. I'm just a little bit about myself. I'm Coco. I'm the head of growth, and here at Goat Gaming, we are building the ultimate platform for hundreds of games with prizes. And not only do we build a lot of those games, but we also have infrastructure powering those games that we've been building for over 7 years. This covers Web 2 infrastructure as well as Web 3 infrastructure and a very cool, super cool side of it, which is powered by AI. But I'm not going to give away too much about that because I think I'm going to leave the experts to talk about it. Shall we introduce who's on stage today? I'm going to start with Moonfly. Over to you.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, we can hear you.
Great, cool. All right. So yeah, I'm Tom. So I'm the game lead on Mighty Action Heroes. So yeah, previously with Mighty Bear, I've worked on Battle Royale and also Disney Melee Mania, and I've been busy working on Mighty Action Heroes for a while now. Yeah, it's great to be here.
I started talking on mute. Classic. It's really exciting to have you here, Tom. And soon we can dive into sort of your experience and what it's like to work at Goat Gaming and all things Mighty Action Heroes. But I'm going to pass it over to Coco Litron.
Hey everyone. Yes, my real name is Coco Litron. I'm Ben, one of the co-founders at the studio. My role at the studio right now is Chief AI Officer. I've been making games for 20 years. I'm originally an art director who switched to technical direction. I've done a lot of work on the growth side, and for the last year or so, we've been pushing really hard into everything generative AI. So I led the transition of the team into an AI native team. And so, yeah, I'm kind of behind a lot of works on the strategy, planning, and execution on production, or live services, or growth leveraging AI. So anything where AI will be involved, I will be involved. I can get more into the details later. But yes, very happy to be here.
That's a very interesting, I guess, transition. Like, I'm going to go a little bit off the plan and just ask you what drew you to AI, because I feel like your level of AI is kind of precedes kind of the mania that we see now for it. Did you have any clues for when you were like working in your pre-AI life that you kind of was like, this is going to change the shape of gaming or something?
All right, that's interesting. Yeah, I think there was. So of course, I didn't know what would ever happen with AI. I never expected this to be going as fast as it has. But I think in my experience, especially as an artist, initially, I've always focused a lot on tooling, which is, if you're not doing digital, you're focused on your tools as well. You're like, okay, am I painting? Am I using pencils? Whatever it is, like ink. And there is a lot of, you can go like very, very deep into how the techniques work and how you can achieve better outcome, and focus on your craft. So if you do digital art, you have to focus probably even more on the technical aspect of things. So anything that helps with developing kind of like more content, improving the quality, automating some parts that are maybe not as creative, and having the ability to focus on more creative works, that has always been a super important part of what I do, which is also why I switched to a more like technical direction works at some point as well. And so I've always been working with essentially solutions to create tools. So solutions that will help me developing the tools and the answer, or essentially the solutions to my problems. And generative AI is exactly that. So what generative AI does is you can develop the precise solution yourself to your own challenges and your own problems to solve. So yeah, if anything prepared me for generative AI and the complete change in kind of mindset around how you approach everything, that's probably the fact that, yeah, I've always focused a lot on problem solving from a technical perspective in order to achieve, art and visual generation.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting how impactful AI has been on the arts in general, because I think I was in my past life, I was an actor, and I remember we used to have conversations about how AI is taking over the world, very like abstract conversations, not in the way where we can see it now actually happening. And we would be like, oh, but you know what? We're artists. Our jobs won't be impacted because, AI can't do art stuff. And it's just
Yeah.
amazing how actually the first frontier of AI has been in the arts realm, the way we see it, the way I see it anyway, and the way I touch it. It's through the art side of it. So yeah, I find that really interesting.
I don't think anyone was ready for that.
No, not at all. Well, cool. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit more towards Mighty Action Heroes. That's the first game that has launched on Goat Gaming. A quick show of hands by way of typing in the chat. Who here has actually played Mighty Action Heroes? Tell me in the chat. Me. Okay. Oh, we have a few. Okay, so you're going to get a chance here to actually meet, speak to Tom, who has been deep in Mighty Action Heroes for, well, the entirety of its lifespan. So I'm sure many of you here, like you can see, are familiar with it. But I'm going to repeat just for anybody who hasn't played it, what it is. So it's essentially a real-time multiplayer third-person multiplayer shooter, and it's a mixture of fun. It's skillful. It has a lot of chaos, and the theme and the IP is all around 90s movie stars and nostalgic superheroes. And if you're a pop culture buff, or you like action figures, as well as being a dedicated gamer, this game, I think, would be great for you. And I think we've had some really great feedback, and thank you to all those people who have been so kind as to share. We've seen some really great responses to the game, especially to the new people who have come into the ecosystem relatively recently. So one of the things we're really proud of is the fact that Mighty Action Heroes won Best Mobile Game in 2023 at the Games.gg Award. And Tom, I'm going to start with you. How was it to develop a game in Web3, given that Disney Melly Mania and Battle Royale were, the studio's Web 2 titles? How did it feel to kind of suddenly be making this game from scratch in Web 3?
It's an interesting question. It's definitely, I would say it's very different. Like when we were developing those previous games, it's very much you kind of develop in secret or in the dark, right? And then once it's ready, you release it out into the wild. But we've actually been developing in the open from the start, right? So people have seen the in progress, they've seen the early access phases of the game that we had when we were adding features one by one gradually. And so it's very much been developing in the open and getting the feedback live from people and just reacting to what the community likes.
Yeah, I think that's quite a bit of sometimes a shock to the system when in Web3 you have that sort of live feedback loop. And also kind of people who stick with you despite the sort of early feel of a game, because I suppose in Web 2 you're used to putting the game together, delivering the game, and if it's not perfect, it can risk dying because the initial response was, this isn't good enough. But actually, what I found in my time in Web3 and gaming is that the Web3 audience is willing to go on that journey with you and understands that it's like a evolving process.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Like, oh, sorry, so I cut you off.
No, please,
Right.
please continue.
Yeah, so like in the early days, it was quite different to how it was now, right? The very first early access version, we had, I think it's, around like 2023, around early then. And it's been evolving since then, and there's quite a lot of stuff that we put into the game as a result, like the community just giving their feedback. And that's the important part, right? The people who will play the game.
Yeah, exactly. And in terms of people who play the game, like, what did you have any say in, like, how whether we put it on mobile or put it on browser? Because it is, cross-platform. Was that the hard thing to do, or is it quite easy to have like the game across multiple platforms?
I think Ben might be able to talk a bit more on this on the technical side, but definitely so the previous games we had worked on were for the Apple Arcade, right? That was both Disney Melee Mania and also Battle Royale. And so what we wanted to do is open things up and allow this game to be played in the browser right from the start. And so that meant that our primary platform was browser. And then once we got the core there, we started to build it in other platforms as well. So first of all, Android, and then just recently iOS as well.
Yes, just want to bring attention to the fact that we are super proud of the fact that we actually launched iOS on the build globally this Tuesday, so literally yesterday. So yeah, very excited to bring that to the rest of the world. Me as a iPhone user, I'm finally able to play on my phone instead of my desktop, which means more time on the bus to play as well. So really happy about that. Cool. Well, do you want to share with us, either of you, anything you're excited about around the Mighty Action Heroes games? Any major sort of changes and upgrades that you're particularly proud about?
Yeah, shall we talk about? We could talk about the new season that just started.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The season of Goat.
Yeah,
What inspired that? Road to Goat.
Very well timed, this one. Yeah, the Road to Goat. So on this, we've got 2 new heroes to unlock, and so the season passes. How long do they last? They last around, I think, 8 weeks each, and so every time at the end of the season pass, there's always a few cool rewards, collectible heroes at the end of it, usually. And so this one, we decided to go goat themed, right? So we've got 2 heroes, one of them called Billy Kid, and the other one called Billy Badass.
Yeah, I love the names, Billy Kid and Billy
Yeah,
Badass.
we're great.
Actually, this one might be for you, Ben. You know how we create the heroes inside of the game? Can you tell us a little bit about how the process of building those assets is impacted by AI?
Yeah, I can totally do that. I will sidetrack just a little bit to go back to one of the things that you just mentioned earlier, which was about transitioning, into browser. And I'll just add this very candidly. We never expected browser to be as hard as it was in terms of development. It was very hard to actually. We came from mobile cross-platform. We've all worked on all kind of consoles, all kind of PC games. Like we generally felt pretty good about our skill set and ability to execute, but it's actually been super hard. Browser is not easy. But now we have products running natively on browser, mobile, and PC, and running well. Multiplayer, real time. So it's a great achievement, but it really hasn't been easy. So that's all I wanted to say.
I actually, before you move on to the other thing, I wanted to say, one, it's like it's the hard things that solving the hard things can sometimes have the most meaningful impact. Because I remember when I couldn't get on the game on my iPhone, and I was just so like delighted to find that I could be on any browser and just jump into the game. Like the lack of friction is so important because most people don't have much of an attention span, and so if the device is a barrier, or the wallet is a barrier, or even downloading, I can't play some of these games because my Mac just can't handle an 80 gigabyte gigantic thing on my laptop, and I don't like downloading things. And if you're talking to Web3 people, they don't like downloading anything anyway, because so much danger around that anyway. So just having a browser game is just such a nice way to get people to try something and make it easy.
That's exactly right. And I used to see browser games more as like, oh, okay, it's like mini games and simple stuff. And I saw like really great looking games on browser, and I never expected it would be as hard to execute on. But I really love that. I really love the fact that, as you said, you can just like go on type in a URL and then you're just playing right away. I just saw this. I have the same challenge as you have. Like I have a Mac. I'm a designer originally, so I don't have like super powerful machines. But yeah, going back to the question that you had on the characters production and how sort of AI influenced the production and the development generally of those characters. I can give a simple example, which is I think very telling. Usually for Mighty Action Heroes, before we started changing all the pipelines and processes and the tooling, one character would take about 6 weeks to develop. So the steps, I'll cover the steps after that, but essentially 6 weeks from the concept, so the early idea, and to the execution in game, right? Like having the character playable in the game itself. 6 weeks. And with generative AI now and all our change in tooling and processes, it takes about a week and a half. So that's a drastic improvement on speed of execution. It's just like we then have a possibility to produce more content or different content or improve even on the content that we would originally ship in 6 weeks. We can then spend more time to fine tune. So it's been pretty impactful. And usually when you make a character, you have to go through like many steps. So you have to do concept, you start with a sketch, and then you have to colorize the sketch, and you have to get some approvals and sign-offs from product, like Tom, for example, to say like, yes, this is working for the vision that we have for the game. And then you have to model that in 3D. That takes a lot of time. Then you have to texture it. Then you have to make multiple versions of the same object because it's just a performance reason. Like when the object is very far, you have a very lightweight object. When it's very close, there are a lot more details. They're actually different objects. So you make different versions of them. It takes a lot of time. And then you have to, what we call rig them, which is essentially put like a skeleton inside of the object or the character so that you can move the limbs, and animate them. And then you go into animation. So after you've done the skeleton. And then when you're done with this, you have a game character, but you also need to produce marketing content. So everything that you use for communications, or even, the visuals for the NFTs as well, which have to be pretty high quality. So there's like a lot of stuff that we need to produce. And that's why it was taking, a lot of time, like six weeks. And generative AI just essentially reduced that, drastically to a week and a half. So yeah, complete change in production, mindset, approach, but incredible gains.
This ties back to developing in the open as well, right? Like on season 4, the way that you were able to show some early versions of the heroes and let people vote on which ones they wanted to see.
That's correct. So this is something that we run through the community. There was a lot of talks around, we could have waifus in the game, and the question is always like, okay, waifu, sure, it's a broad topic. Like, what kind of waifus are we talking about? Are we talking about like more classic maids? Are we talking about like traditional, Japanese inspired, folk, inspired kind of waifus? What are we talking about, right? And in order to showcase the community some ideas, it would take a lot of time. Again, like weeks of work to develop the sketches, put them into colors, and then maybe render them out a little bit more than just like flat colors, so that you have something that looks presentable and that people can really vote on. And what we could do in a few days, literally in a few days, with a new pipeline, we could output final looking characters that people could vote on. So whatever you would see in that, it's unfortunate I don't have the actual picture here, but whatever you would see in the lineup of characters we presented to the community looked like the characters you would have in game. It looked like in 3D, highly rendered, highly polished, and that's absolutely impossible to achieve if you don't leverage generative AI. There was no way. So that was a big win.
And something I wanted to just ask and kind of point out was all of this, all these assets that we make, it's our own IP, isn't it?
That's correct. Yes, that's all trained on our own data sets, and it's all content that we've built initially in house and that we've trained our models on.
So is that and sorry if this is a basic question, is that the fundamental difference between having your own AI models and data sets and tools in-house as opposed to maybe just using something like Midjourney or ChatGPT?
Yeah, you could say so. Yeah, definitely. That's what we call that process fine tuning. So you take a fairly broad model like Stable Diffusion or Midjourney, if you could fine tune. But that's, I mean, I'm not going to go into the details. But like something very broad, and then you fine tune it to reproduce exactly the style and the content of your own products based on the data set that you own. And then based on that, you can start, producing a lot of content that is always, on brand, in the right style, and highly consistent in terms of quality.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think, it's amazing what you can do with AI, but also how much more advanced it can get when you have much more control over it, like what we have in house. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it just keeps compounding, right? It's like the more you continue building that sort of foundational layer of content, controls, and infrastructure, essentially, and the more horsepower you have, right, that you're building up for future titles, and it's all reusable workflows, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so it's almost like an exponential growth of that tool.
Yep, 100%. We're essentially getting faster and faster. Sorry.
Yeah, it is going to get faster and faster. I mean, even from like what we saw September 2022 already, that we started really seeing, or was it 2023? And I don't have a concept of
that was Midjourney. I think that was Midjourney V2 that came out. So around there. Copilot also made it into GitHub. Was it GitHub? It's called GitHub. I can't remember. But there was the introduction of Copilot as well. Yeah, that was around there.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see how, like, with AI, you can actually unlock more creativity rather than shut it down, which I feel like a lot of maybe like a lot of people in the arts industry are worried about.
Yep, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, I understand. I mean, people should be worried in a sense, more like what to do with it, not so much, oh, this is terrible and it's gonna destroy all the jobs. At least on the creative side of things, the question is more, what are we gonna do about that? Like, this is not gonna go back to normal. There's no way. There's absolutely no way this is gonna go back to wherever that was before Gen AI was introduced. So the question is like, can you do something, ethical and good with that? And can you, there is this question of like, oh, is it going to take jobs away? Well, the people that we had on the team who are creative, developers from the game industry, veterans, they're the same people using generative AI right now. The person who is still doing 3D characters is the same person training and outputting content with our pipelines. It's the same people. There's no job that went away. It's just like they're more empowered and we can do a lot more things. And they have also more creative control at the end because, we sort of compress the works, right?
Because at the end of the day, it's the humans that are using it, isn't it? So, yeah.
That's exactly right.
So I wanted to just pivot a little bit back to Mighty Action Heroes and just talk about some of the features that we have that we will be expanding upon a little bit later as we expand Goat Gaming. So another show of hands in the audience, type whatever you want in the chat, but who here has played the 1v1 Showdown? Okay, a few. Okay, so I'm going to just give you, while you're reminding me how many people have played it. 1v1 Showdown is a battle mode where you does what it says on the tin. You jump in with one other person and you fight them to the death. And we have just a little bit on actually this mode actually. Sorry, long day. I can't get my words out. This battle mode actually inspired some of how we came about building Goat Gaming. So the 1v1 Showdown, if you played it, you know that just before you jump into the battle, you have this kind of you put in some crowns and your opponent puts in crowns, and then there's kind of like a spinning wheel, but it's not a wheel, and you can get up to 10x your entry fee back in rewards. And we actually discovered that particular mechanic, when we added it, shot the retention rate up to like 80% on day one, and I think it was like 30% or 50% day 7. which is unheard of in the space. And so when we realized that we were getting retention rates on that particular mechanic, we kind of decided there's something here, and it really responded well, surprise, surprise, in the Web3 space. And so that's why we kind of were inspired to push into more of this kind of play for prizes, have that kind of fun sort of wheel of chance experience as well. I'm going to go to Tom. Tom, can you tell us a little bit about how it was to build the 1v1 showdown and your thoughts around it?
Yeah,
And any
so this is
maybe future stuff that we could hint to the audience?
okay. I'll drop something in as well. Yeah, so I think we were developing this one. It's one of the features we were developing earlier this year, and it rolled out. I feel like it was maybe February, March, something like that. This was a fun one to develop. Like we decided to go for 30-second matches, so the outcome is decided quite fast, and it's just a test of skill, right? Who's going to win this match, and then if you don't win, you can always just try again and see if you win the next one. The multiplayer, like getting that right before the match. I think you just talked about that as well, right? During the matchmaking, there's a chance that you might get like a 10 times multiplier, of the amount of crowns that you put in. So we did a lot of fine tuning on the UI and making that feel good as well. In terms of what's coming next on the showdown mode, so currently there are 2 timing windows per day, and I'm thinking in Singapore time, so there's one in the evening and one in the morning. What we are looking into is expanding these timing zones, timing windows even, and also having different entry fees, right? So if people want to try putting down more crowns, I think the entry fee right now is 30. Maybe they can try putting in a few hundred and see how that goes as well. And so we're going to be opening those up pretty soon, I would say.
I mean, who doesn't like a bit of adrenaline-filled gaming, right? So yeah, I think that would be a really fun mode to play. So any hints on what else is to come on the Mighty Action Heroes side? And in the meantime, the audience can probably just chuck in the chat anything that they particularly would love to see in the Mighty Action Heroes game.
Yeah, I've been reading what people are writing along the way as well. So someone wanted a 5v5 mode. Someone saying, all I want is boomstick. Yeah, so we're looking at, actually, I think we might have talked about this before as well. So the idea of flexing during the showdown mode as well. So it's one of the next things we'll be building into that is the ability to, so let's say you're matched with someone and let's say it's 30 crowns, you'll be able to say, oh, I want to raise it to 60. And then will the person match that? Will they not? And so I think the stakes right there and then, without needing to go through more battles to be able to do that same thing. Like that's something we definitely want to get in soon. We're also going to be adding more more polish on the results screen and getting that into something that's more fun to share, right? So getting some stats out of the match to say how you played and things that are shareable to the community, right? Like what's your favorite weapon, this kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for having stats on like all-time stats on kills, and I always love stuff that is really shareable. So yeah, I'm really excited for that personally myself. Cool. Well, before we move on to a little bit about like what's happening beyond Mighty Action Heroes, I'm going to open it up to the audience. If anybody wants to either come onto stage and ask a question, or even just type it in the chat, but either option. You can start, actually, why don't we do this? Why don't you start throwing some questions in or putting your hand up, and I can prepare the next question for Ben or Tom to maybe share a little bit about, and that is what is next on the roadmap after Mighty Action Heroes? So have a think about that. But I've got a question. Will Big Bear Syndicate characters added in Mighty Action Heroes? So actually, this might be a nice little history lesson. Do either of you want to talk about like the Big Bear Syndicate, how it came about?
Ben, do you want to take this one?
So Sorry, I was
So-
looking for...
Okay.
Please go ahead. No, go ahead, Tom. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I think you were a lot more involved in this one than me. But the Big Bear Syndicate was the PFP collection that we launched. So this is back in the early days of Mighty Action Heroes. The way that you could play at first during the early access phase was to own one of those Big Bear Syndicate PFPs as well. So that's something we were building in. It's 2022, right, Ben? And still using one
Yes.
now, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was what did you say it was to celebrate the launch of Mighty Action Heroes?
It was part of the build-up towards Mighty Action Heroes. Is we started with a PFP collection, and then one of the first uses for that was that you could, if you held one of those, you could play the game in the early access days. Like that's before we ended up opening it up to the wider audience through last year.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's actually a lot to come on the NFT side, because we do have now the launch of Goat Gaming, and we want to sort of find a cool way of tying everything together and housing it all in the Goat Gaming brand. But I won't say too much about that, because there's a lot of NDA around that just now. But it's very soon we'll be sharing some early initial ideas with the community. So especially if you're a holder, we're definitely going to be sharing some alpha very soon. Okay, so moving on to the next game. So we have another game coming. It's not going to be the one you think. That was a little bit of a decoy floating around. Tokyo is asking anything on Waifu Clash. Well, you're kind of right. There is waifus in the next game, but it's not going to be Waifu Clash. Do either of you want to share something about it? Just a hint for these few people who've spent time to come here and join us today.
I can share that in all of the materials that we've shipped on Twitter, like socials, and within Discord, there is a hint somewhere of what the next title is. It is in plain sight, but it's kind of hidden, but it's in plain sight. I'm just gonna say that. Yeah.
Ooh, very mysterious. I think also what I want to share. Oh yeah, yeah. What I want to share a little bit about is when you see the next title come out, it's going to be something of a bit of a surprise, because it's going to be showing how, like, our versatility in what we're producing, and our commitment to not only cross-platform games, but to tapping into a market that is just much vaster than our little bubble here in Web3, in a way that I think people really enjoy and get a lot of fun out of. But it won't be long, actually, to wait for the answer, because very soon we'll be announcing some information around that. So I think that's everything that we were going to talk about today. Is there any final closing thoughts either of you wanted to share with us today?
Oh, I can jump in first. Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for coming and listening, and for playing Mighty Action Heroes and giving us the feedback. Like everyone who's been sending their suggestions and all of that, we keep a close eye on that, and we definitely take it into account in what we work on next as well. So I just want to thank everyone on that.
And of course, our wonderful GOAT overlord, who's been diligently managing everything in Discord. We salute you. Thank you so much. Ben, any final thoughts?
Yes, much love to everyone who joined tonight. So thanks a lot for being here and for the questions. We're around on the Discord, so please don't hesitate. Share your questions. Whatever we can answer, we will. Tom mentioned earlier we're pretty open. It's just like we're very heads down building. So just go on. Don't hesitate, and we'll answer anything that we can. Always happy to share.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you to everyone who's joined today. I have one last bit of something to say. I think I've been around on the Discord, and I'm hearing your questions and trying to jump in where possible. And I think one thing that I mentioned in the latest announcement was around the quest. And one thing that I want to stress from what we're trying to do with the quest is to reward people in separate buckets as fairly as possible. So we've got the creator quest. Big shout out to people who've been sort of contributing to that. There's a separate allocation of GOAT for creators, and we will be finding different ways to reward creators with creator points. So content creation is something that we really want to value here at GOAT Gaming. We've created a media kit for you all, so just have a look in Creator Corner. There's a Creator Kit, a Creator Quest FAQ, and if you jump in there and ask questions, feel free to tag me and I can answer any questions around that. And we will be doing weekly themes for the weekly prize pool, which is up to $5,000. That's on top of the GOAT allocation, by the way. On the game side, I know that some people are concerned a little bit about bots, and I think we have, as Kent has made has commented on this, and that we are very aware of what's going on in the background. And I think as the rest of the road to GOAT unfolds, you'll see that the pathway to points will continue to expand for real players. And so whatever the bots are doing it just will get too complex for them to keep up. That's our dream anyway. But you tell us if you think that the plan is working. But with that being said, I think that's everything for today. Thank you everyone for turning up and listening to us ramble. Hope you found it useful, and see you again soon. Peace.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.